a river that flows through Canada and into the Atlantic Ocean. The St. Lawrence River is a paradise and a source of energy for all living things. Today I shall travel up the river to learn more about the hidden stories of Canada. A long time ago, people crossed the Bering Strait and took root on the American continent. They crossed the Atlantic in search of an unknown land. That's how today's Canada came into existence. I look forward to meeting them. Korea and Canada have established diplomatic ties for more than 50 years. But how much do Koreans really know about Canada? To find out, I embarked on my Canadian journey. Today's trip begins in Charlevoix, where the St. Lawrence starts to widen. The St. Lawrence is a beautiful river loved by Canadians. Charlevoix is a quaint port city that meets the sea. Every summer, this quiet city becomes crowded with visitors from all around the world. I am one of those many tourists. There's one reason why people seek Charlevoix. It's because it is the perfect place to watch whales, the largest mammals on Earth. What is it about whales that attracts so many people?
우리가요 고래를 보고 싶어하는 이유는 공룡을 보고 싶어하는 거랑 똑같아요. 크거든요. 어마어마해서 우리와는 다른 스케일의 삶을 살 것 같은 그런 동물. 뭔가 신비롭고 뭔가 있을 것 같은 그런 마음 때문에 이 많은 사람들이 추운 날 이 배를 탄 게 아니겠습니까?
Will those on this ship have the good fortune of meeting the world's largest mammal? Whales cannot be spotted in any random place. But they can be easily found in locations where there is an abundant supply of food.
So we have the daily tides because of those waters from sea enter and pushing food from the ocean to us. When the food arrive here, meet the wall of sediment, it's created upwelling. When food at the surface, you have multiplication of it, and that's why so many whales visit us.
It has been 1 hour since the ship left the port. The engine goes off as we arrive at the whale watching spot. Everyone rushes to one side of the ship. A whale has emerged. It can be as large as 16 meters in length and weigh as much as 40 tons.
Just over there, you said clearly with the beautiful dorsal fin.
The people on board are filled with excitement. Among large whales, the humpback whale is known to be one of the most friendly species. Its name comes from its obvious hump. We are about 30 meters away from the whale. It feels as if I'm dreaming about whales.
flat surface.
C'est merveilleux, c'est magnifique, sérieusement là. Ouais, j'avais jamais vu une baleine de ma vie, puis j'ai été très impressionnée. Ouais.
Il y en a d'autres à
Vraiment,
la
surtout quand elle a levé sa queue là. Ouais, c'était vraiment beau.
하지만 어떻게 저렇게 거대한 생명체가 있을 수 있을까? 바로 우리 코앞에만 해요. 정말 대단한 경험이었습니다.
On est presque au Cap Bon Désir, on est vraiment...
The ship starts running and maintains a distance from the whale. If people had been greedy, whale watching would no longer exist today.
Elles sont deux exactement, two humpback. Ici, c'est Gaspard.
The people of Canada know how to keep peace with nature. 1,198 kilometers. The lives of Canadians flow through the St. Lawrence River. The river contains the past and present of Canadians. This city reveals how Canada has developed while preserving the St. Lawrence. I have finally arrived in Quebec City. The medieval-looking old town hints at the country's rich history and tradition.
이 아메리카 대륙을 발견한 사람들은 크게 두 가지 부류의 사람들입니다. 하나는 베링해를 건너서 온 아메리칸 인디언들이고요. 또 다른 부류는 16세기에 유럽에서 온 영국인들과 프랑스인들이겠죠.
They followed the river into Canada, and the first place they set foot on was the province of Quebec, home to Quebec City. The walls of this five-story building are painted with historical figures from the olden days. The first European to discover Canada in 1534 was Jacques Cartier. This wall is filled with images of 16 important historical figures, including Samuel de Champlain, who created the first village in Quebec. Also, the church on the left is a stone building constructed in 1688. A model of the ship that carried the first migrants catches my attention. This is one way of recording history. Now, it is time for me to explore some of the older traditions of Canada. Just 20 minutes away from Quebec City is Wendake. This is a completely different side of Canada. Wendake is home to the Indigenous people of Canada. The village square is bustling with activity.
Stand by, grass dancers, 45 and up, smoke trail, you're on deck.
A total of 8 Aboriginal tribes gather from across Canada in their colorful costumes to participate in this traditional festival. They are the first people who took root in Canada after crossing the Bering Strait thousands of years ago. People from all around the world are here to witness this rare event. But this moment has been awaited most by the Aboriginals and their descendants.
Bawa, ça veut dire rencontre de toute nation, puis partage. Partage, échange.
We want to make sure that everyone here has themselves a great meal.
Dressed in colorful costumes representing their tribe, the Indians tap their feet to match the rhythm. Stepping on the ground is their way of comforting Mother Nature, the source of life.
Grass dancers. Come on, everybody, make some noise! Oh!
The atmosphere livens up after a few performances.
Please give a big round of applause to our grass dancers and to Northern Voice.
One member of the tribe is approaching his family. The costume symbolizes that the tribe members are creatures related to God.
Aigle royal.
Aigle.
De la nation algonquin.
La nation algonquin.
Oui, ça représente le monde.
Bonjour. Thomas.
Thomas. Ce qui est plaisant, le plus plaisant, c'est rencontrer nos frères et nos sœurs, danser avec eux, rassembler d'autres nations en nations. C'est vraiment ça que j'aime.
Meanwhile, some villagers are busy preparing something.
What are you doing exactly?
I'm warming up the drum.
Why do you have to warm up the drum?
It sounds kind of flat when it's cool.
Okay.
So when you heat it up, it tightens it right up.
So it's better to
Make it tight, yeah.
Tight.
Yeah, sounds better.
This drum, made from the hide of an animal, is one of the most important aspects of the festival. The beat of the drum played by Aboriginals represents the heartbeat of humans and of all living things. The song consists of a few words and unique vocals. They sound like they are letting out their emotions. The rich, mournful tunes remind me of Korea's traditional song called chang. The term powwow refers to one who cures diseases. The Aboriginal song and dance reflects a history of persecution and oppression. It is a prayer that heals their wounds.
That was fast.
As soon as the performance ends, I notice an interesting scene.
C'est quoi comme la viande?
Du castor.
Castor.
Celui-là.
From a long time ago, the Aboriginals enjoyed meat from beavers living in rivers.
비버 고기. 맛있다. 몇백 년 전, 한 100년, 200년 전에 인디언 생활에 들어간 것 같아요.
You like it?
Yes?
Like this? Okay.
This Aboriginal man has caught hundreds of beavers since he was young.
Now.
He has something to show us.
Okay. And these are the ones here.
It's the hidden teeth of beavers. Their teeth are well developed as they build wooden dams in rivers for protection.
티라노사우루스 이빨이 그렇거든요. 요만큼 보이면 사실 이만큼 있는 거야, 그 속에. 야, 근데 이거 비버의 이빨이 겉에는 이만큼밖에 안 보이는데 이만큼 나오고.
The old man suddenly runs off and rummages through his bag.
You got four?
Okay, wait.
He counts how many of us there are, and he hands us each a souvenir.
I'll give you a bear's tooth. That's a small one, but it is as important as the big one that we see all the time. Okay? Okay.
Main gauche. Thank you. Okay. Main gauche.
Merci.
Okay. That is yours. For us, the porcupine means hope. Okay, hope inside. Not to get some money, but hope to be fine in your body.
This special souvenir that he placed in each of our hands was more valuable than any other present we ever received. Next, I joined them in the song and dance. This tradition is more than a festival of their own. It is a meaningful event that allows us to connect. Just like the Aboriginals did in the past, I wish for everyone's well-being with each step.
캐나다에 흩어져 있던 그 많은 종족들이, 인디안 종족들이 모여서 노는 아주 가벼운 축제. 이런 가벼움이 참 부러워요. 전통을 지키기 위한 그래서 뭔가 시끌하지 않으면서도 가벼우면서도 즐거운, 그러면서 후손들에게 자기의 전통을 넘겨주는 그런 모습이 아주 좋았습니다.
A place from out of the past. This folk village exhibits the lives of the indigenous people living in Quebec before the Europeans entered the country.
So you see, this is the actual map of the province of Quebec, not all the country, just the province. 57 communities or villages or reserves. So we have here close to Ontario the Algonquin, the Mohawks, the pink one here. Those are the Abenakis, close to Trois-Rivières, the Huron. No side of the country here.
There are about 1 million Aboriginals living in Canada today, amounting to 3.8% of the total population. This is a recreation of the living quarters of Quebec Aboriginals who lived by the St. Lawrence River.
And the clan was a big family. Grandparents, parents, children, uncles, aunts, cousins.
Yes.
Everybody lived together in one house. Exactly. About we count here about 30 to 50 people inside this long house.
Instead of living in conical tents, they stayed together in big groups under a leader. Since they lived near the river, they had sufficient water for farming. Thanks to the St. Lawrence River, the Aboriginals' lives were enriched. A trip that began at the end of the river. I'm setting off to discover another tale of history. Accessible by bridge, the island of Orleans can be reached from Quebec City in just 20 minutes. The island of Orleans came to be known in the 17th century, when French farmers moved to the island for its fertile soil and good temperature range. It has been called a gift of nature for producing plenty of fruits and vegetables. The island is also famous for apples and maple syrup. They're not in season now, but we can find fresh strawberries instead.
Très bon. Succulent.
The island of Orleans is well known not just for strawberries, but many other fruits and vegetables. It has even earned the nickname of the Barn of Quebec.
Parce que c'est un fruit typique au Québec.
C'est les meilleurs.
Okay. C'est les meilleurs au Québec. Puis l'île d'Orléans sont réputées comme étant très très bonnes, sinon les meilleures.
Ah, OK.
After saying goodbye to the couple, I look around the island and find a vast vineyard. This is another specialty of the island of Orleans. I meet some villagers who are out working hard in the vineyard.
Bonjour, good. Yeah, is it your winery?
No, it's not mine. I work here, of course, but I'm not the owner. Today we are taking the branches up in the wires, so the vine will get a maximum of light.
There are 6 months left to harvest time. They are hanging out the grapes for a longer time to make ice wine.
La réglementation dit qu'il faut que les raisins soient cueillis à la température de moins 8 degrés ou plus froid. Donc en janvier, c'est certain qu'on va l'avoir, en décembre aussi. Mais je pense qu'en récoltant en novembre, on a déjà une belle concentration de sucre, puis on peut faire un vendange tardif à ce moment-là.
With temperatures falling below -10 degrees in winter and a summer heat that ripens the grapes, the island of Orleans offers the best environment for ice wine. People often joke that the original name of the island was Bacchus, the Roman god of wine. At this wine shop, visitors can have a taste of ice wine produced on the island. Many foreigners are already indulging themselves. Of course, I ordered a glass too.
There you go.
Okay, the $2. Yeah?
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
I was honored to have a free glass of wine. How smoothly it flows down my throat.
아이스 와인 처음 마셔봤는데요. 정말 좋습니다. 그 달콤하게 목을 꿀꺽 넘어가는 게 입에 좀 더 오래 담고 있을 걸 하는 후회가 나는데 너무 빨리 넘겨버렸어요. 아깝습니다. 한 잔을 공짜로 주셨는데요. 또 달라 하기도 미안하고.
Ice wine is naturally more expensive compared to the usual wine.
Thank you. Ice wine is done with frozen grapes. So it's a grape that frost, defrost several times, and when we do the picking, it's frozen. So that's why it makes a very sweet wine.
Ice wine must be served cold. This will give it a deep taste, with a good balance of sweetness and acidity. Orleans is an island of blessing in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. The sweetness I have experienced here will remain with me for a long time. This is not the end of the hidden story flowing in Canada's river. There is a good reason why so many people are gathered in Quebec City. They are waiting for Cirque Du Soleil, a world-renowned circus act that began in Quebec. The shows were free of charge from 2009 to 2013 to commemorate Quebec City's 400th anniversary.
Dans ce port-là, donc, arrivaient plein d'immigrants de partout, par bateau, et ils ont laissé des boîtes remplies de choses, remplies de souvenirs, qui sont à la fois inspirés de ce qui s'est passé ici à Québec, mais d'un petit peu partout, des gens qui arrivent de différents pays, et ils ont laissé des choses, et nous, on raconte l'histoire de ces choses qui ont été oubliées à l'intérieur de ces boîtes-là.
The history of Quebec City, the oldest city in Canada, is about to come back to life.
They play cards.
Following the first show held in Quebec in 1984, Cirque Du Soleil has toured and performed in more than 120 countries around the world. Going backstage just before the show is usually not permitted, but they have generously granted us a few minutes.
Do everybody put their own makeup?
Yeah, everyone does their own makeup, yeah. Everyone does their own makeup. It depends on the difficulty, how long it takes. For some people it's longer if they have really difficult makeup, some people less time if it's easy makeup. We do duo trapeze together in the show, so we're the first act in the show.
First in the show. What is that again?
Duo trapeze. Trapeze. So basically it's two ropes with a big bar hanging from it, and Thomas will hang from the bar, and then I hang below him, and he has me do tricks, yeah. More or less, that's how it works.
The performers average around 10 years of experience. Most of them are veterans who have been performing since they were young. The show is not only about risky acts such as acrobatic feats, spins, and rope riding. They have to put together an artistic performance instead of simply entertaining the audience with tricks.
Power Ranger.
30 minutes before the show, the performers are in their last warm-up. Meanwhile, the seats begin to fill up. Just then, something unexpected happens. The pile of sacks looms over the audience. It was a performance signaling the start of the show. The famous Cirque Du Soleil is the epitome of modern arts performances. This is not a typical circus with animal tricks. It is an entirely new kind of circus that integrates performance arts. The music, video, and stories added to traditional circus acts give the audience the impression that they are watching a dynamic musical. The acrobat covers her eyes, and everyone holds their breath. What follows is a thrilling sight. It's finally the highlight of the show. The migrants who set foot in Quebec each had a story to tell. This acrobat's flight is perhaps a representation of the migrants' hard work and sacrifice in trying to settle down in Quebec. The hidden stories of Canada are told in gestures and sounds. Has the message been delivered to the audience?
Excellent, c'est très bon, j'ai adoré, j'ai été ébloui tout le show.
Est-ce que c'était la première fois? Moi, c'est ma deuxième expérience au Cirque du Soleil. À chaque fois, je suis éblouie. C'est extraordinaire, ils prennent des risques, ils sont bons. Ils ont la présence sur scène, ils sont extraordinaires.
쇼 구성도 놀라웠고 도시에 유럽 사람들이 막 왔을 때의 이야기들을 이야기를 만들어낸 거잖아요. 그리고 관객들하고의 호흡이 정말 놀라웠어요. 이 관객들이라고 봤던 게 아니잖아요. 처음 봤는데도 불구하고 어떻게 배우들과 관객들이 하나가 되는지 정말 놀랐습니다.
A country where people with different roots gathered. Each and every one is acknowledged. Canada hasn't lost its identity. It has become a place of coexistence. The people's desire to take root on this land is burning into the night.